remove this cap, use a 22mm socket, and just take these caps off, loosen them up by hand, and slide the cap off. Take the lug nuts off, use the 22mm socket. Remove the wheel. Take these two bolts out for the caliper, use a 18mm socket. And take the caliper off. You can use a straight blade screwdriver. Just go in between the rotor and the caliper, compress this just a little bit, and slide the caliper off. You can use a brake caliper hanger, and just find somewhere where you can hang this from so that there's not too much tension on the brake hose. Take off the brake pads. Now take these two bolts off for the caliper bracket. Use a 21mm socket. And slide the bracket off. Now remove the rotor. If the rotor's stuck on, you can take a hammer and hit in these locations. Just be careful, you don't want to hit the studs. And then also you could get a threaded bolt that fits in there. Put those in, walk those in a little bit, and continue to hammer on those locations, and you should be able to slide it right off. Take a wire brush or some type of die grinder and just clean up any of the rust that's built up on the hub surface. A lot of times you'll get a lot of buildup in between there, so clean all that up. It's a good idea to take a thin coat of anti-seize and just put it on the hub surface where it's going to meet the rotor. Take the rotor, put it on backwards, take a little brake parts cleaner, and just wipe it down and install the rotor. Take some brake parts cleaner on this side and clean it off. To make it easier to install the bracket, I'm just going to put a lug nut on the rotor backwards, and that'll keep the rotor from moving around. Now I'm going to clean up the brake caliper bracket. Just slide these pad slides off. Just use a screwdriver. Take a wire brush, clean up any rust on here. And take some brake caliper grease and just grease up this area right here. Take the new pad slide, line that up, lock it down, and just take another thin coat of grease just where the brake pads are going to line up. Then you can do the same on the other side. Take these caliper pins or brake caliper bolts and clean these up a little bit. Keep in mind if one of the rubber pieces came out, which side it came out of. On ours, it came out of the bottom one. And just clean these up. Take a little brake caliper grease. And if they were severely rotted or rusty, then you're going to want to clean out the holes as well where the guides go in, and use some type of a wire brush that works in there, like a pipe cleaner type brush. Now slide the bracket over the rotor. Get the bolts. You can use a little thread lock adhesive on the bolts. Now I'm going to torque these bolts to 221 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to install the brake pads. For the inside one, make sure the squealer or brake warning indicator is at the bottom. And slide those in position. And the one on the outside is going to have both squealers. Now we're going to compress the brake caliper pistons. You can use an old brake pad and a caliper compressing tool. And just go nice and slow as you compress the pistons. The fluid's going to go through the brake hoses and the brake lines back up into the master cylinder into the reservoir. So just go nice and slow. Now take the hanger off the brake caliper. And slide the caliper over the brake pads. Make sure the hose is not twisted. Install the brake caliper slide pins or caliper bolts. Now torque these bolts to 80 foot-pounds. I can take that lug nut off now. Put the wheel on. And the lug nuts. Now I'm going to torque these lug nuts to 140 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Now I'm just going to go around again, double check. I'm going to take the center cap, line it up, and just with the socket, the 22mm socket, just tighten these down, just snug. Not too tight. You don't want to strip them. Some of these are already stripped. After you're done, make sure you pump the brake pedal nice and slow. There's going to be a little bit of an air gap between the caliper piston and the brake pads. So just do this till the brake feels normal.